What's an incredibly American thing Americans don't realize is American? Prescription drug commercials. Free refills at restaurants. Ranch. Absurdly protracted election cycles. Election campaigns in the US appear to take a full year, when they typically just last a month or two in most of the countries I've visited. The cult of high school, college sports. Drive-through ATMs and everything else. I didn't learn we had drive-through liquor stores until later in my life. Sending Christmas cards with their family photo on it. Handing your credit card to a stranger. Having them walk away, swipe it, then bring it back to like they didn't just put a down payment on a new house with it. American here. When I studied abroad, I was smiling and friendly to strangers. In London they looked like I wanted to steal something from them. Thanking military people for their service. Daily driving pickup trucks. Liberal equals left-wing. Not making posts about other countries. Mixing 3 different canned foods together and calling it a casserole. Singing the national anthem at every possible opportunity, even when the event does not involve any other countries. Pledging allegiance to the flag or singing the national anthem outside of special events. I went to see a kids' talent show in a small rural town. There were maybe 8 ACTs and 30 people watching, and they all stood and pledged allegiance to the flag and sang the national anthem beforehand. It was extremely strange. Making pancakes from the box. Asking a complete stranger, "How are you doing today?" While I admit the Brits are pretty close with their full English breakfast. The American greasy diner breakfast of eggs, bacon, waffles, pancakes and hash browns is pretty uniquely American. My Italian mother has said in the past that it's the only things she's enjoyed about American food culture. My nonna would be horrified if she heard we were eating fried eggs for breakfast. Edit. Spelling. Geez guys, it's a freaking typo. So much fast food. Air conditioning. I'm very surprised no one has said this yet. It's not that other countries don't have heating and AC. They do. But our use of them, especially the latter during the summer, is astronomically higher than anywhere else on the planet, even when compared to other first world countries. Paying $10,000 for a live birth and thinking that's okay. Give tips at restaurants. And give even more tips for barber, food delivery, massage. And some Asian restaurants will automatically add 20% tip after tax. Edit. Spelled massage as message. Pledging allegiance to a flag. Tipping wait staff, drivers, valet, etc. Driving everywhere. Americans drive a lot. Far more than residents in most other countries. Not owning a passport. I don't know if that is a myth, but I hear that a huge percentage of Americans have never been out of the country and don't even have a passport. I understand that the US is huge with a massive range of landscapes and climate, but it still seems a little odd to me. Edit. According to the US State Department, they estimate 37% of US citizens don't own a passport. Edit 2. I'm sure there are plenty of perfectly good reasons for it. It's not a criticism. Edit 3. Today I learnt a lot fewer people than I realized have passports. Fettuccine Alfredo. Not having to ask for the bill. Someone paid just to bag your shopping at the checkout makes me feel so awkward and uncomfortable. Just standing there while they do it. American Chinese food. Like General Tso, orange chicken, egg foo young. There is a wonderful documentary called The Search for General Tso, and it talks about how Chinese immigrants designed this food to please American taste buds. Walking up to a total stranger in the street, striking up a conversation for not particular reason, and it not being weird. Seeing your country's flag all over the place. Big food portions. Making cities hostile to pedestrians and bicyclists. I don't just mean car-friendly, but actively anti-pedestrian. As in, the only legal route to get to a place 100 meters away being a 1-kilometer detour to find the nearest spot. It legal to cross a road, or not having paths connecting downtowns to what little public transit hubs there are. Even people who would otherwise want to walk because it's a short distance find they have to use a car because the pathways actively block pedestrians. Edit. For me, one of my big frustrations when commuting by bicycle is this catch-22. Rule 1. Bikes must not act like pedestrians. They must act like cars and drive out in the road and obey traffic lights. Okay, that's entirely reasonable. Except, Rule 2, when the city engineers design traffic lights that only trip via a sensor, make sure they only sense a large metal object like a car, not a smaller metal object like a bike. I literally must run a red light to get across the intersection because the sensor doesn't know I exist, so the light will remain red forever. Calling a water heater hot water heater. Edit. As many commented, this isn't what all Americans call it apparently, but some definitely do. Turning right on red. Edit. I only know this because the French actor from that silent movie The Artist mentioned it in his Oscars acceptance speech. Thinking that circumcision is the norm and that uncut guys have smelly dicks. Paying half your income for insurance that doesn't actually cover anything. Flags hanging out front of people's homes. It feels weirdly ominous as a Canadian who travels to the States sometimes just how many homes have the American flag just on a post out front. Incarceration. The United States incarcerates more of its own citizens than any civilization in history. Being incredibly American while simultaneously trying as hard as humanly possible to be a descendant of a European country, usually Ireland, then telling everyone you meet how you are actually not really American. Canned cheese you squirt. Saying whatever in the most condescending, dismissive, arrogant tone. Thinking that anything remotely socialist is communism. Being an immigrant, almost every citizen of the USA today is directly descended from immigrants. It's a huge part of our national identity, whether a certain portion of our population understand that or not. Lol, so many people are listing things that are quite obviously American. Even to Americans. Which wasn't what the question asked. Bankruptcy caused by medical expenses. Speaking very loud in public places. I think that's the #1 reason American tourists stand out like a sore thumb. Edit. I'm talking about a normal conversation. I get that people get louder when they are drunk or enthusiastic or super happy. But the phenomenon I'm describing here is just day-to-day conversation in a very loud voice. It's like there is a lack of awareness of their surroundings. If no one is talking that loud, neither should you. These wide streets where you can park, stop next to them and drive because they are so incredibly wide, these huge shopping markets where you can probably even stay for days if you get lost. Getting their lives saved and getting financially jumped by the lifesavers. Health care costs. Sugar in everything. Paying $800 for putting bandages plus $250 fee for crying. Sending party invitations with a start and end time, especially for kids' parties. Pledge of Allegiance. Although my parents did remark they thought it was weird growing up, they are American.